I, 31M, need some perspective here because things escalated massively, and now I'm wondering if I'm in the wrong. I got Max, my dog, when I was 18, the year before I moved out for college. He was the most incredible dog I've ever known. My parents, 66F and 68M, and I have had several dogs before him, 6 to be exact, but Max was different. He was a yellow Labrador with these soulful brown eyes that could melt anyone's heart. Every morning when I lived at home, he would wait outside my bedroom door, tail wagging, ready to start the day. Even after I left for college, whenever I came home, he remembered me and would get so excited he'd run in circles until I petted him. Leaving him behind when I went to college was one of the hardest things I'd ever done. I remember my last night at home before leaving. He slept in my room, which wasn't usually allowed, and my mom found both of us curled up on my bed in the morning. After that, my parents started letting him sleep in their room. I guess they missed me too. For context about my relationship, I've been with Sarah, 33F, for almost 2 years now. We met through mutual friends at a work event. She has 2 kids, 7M and 4F, from her previous marriage, and in the beginning, everything seemed perfect. She was funny, caring, and her kids were wonderful. I really bonded with them. We would go to the park together, I'd help the older one with his homework, and the little girl would always get excited when I came over. Things were mostly good between us until now, though looking back, there were some red flags I probably should have noticed. Sarah could be quite possessive at times. She didn't like it when I spent too much time with my family or friends, but I always chalked it up to her having trust issues from her previous marriage where her ex cheated on her. She would check my phone sometimes, saying she was just being playful, and would get upset if I took too long to reply to her messages. My parents have been incredibly supportive of our relationship from the start. My mom especially went out of her way to make Sarah feel welcome. She always included Sarah and her kids in family events, sent them birthday presents, and even offered to help with childcare when Sarah had work emergencies. Last Christmas, my mom knitted sweaters for both kids and sent them advent calendars. My dad was a bit more reserved but still very kind to her. He would always make sure to buy Sarah's favorite wine when we visited and would take her kids fishing at the lake behind their house. Fast forward to now, Max passed away a few days ago. It was completely unexpected. He seemed perfectly fine that morning. My dad had taken him for their usual morning walk, and he was running around the garden like always. But later that evening, he suddenly collapsed. My parents said he seemed to have had a stroke. He couldn't walk, had trouble breathing, and was clearly in distress. They called the emergency vet immediately, but being in a somewhat rural area, it took the vet too long to arrive. Max passed away in my parents' arms about 2 hours after he collapsed. My parents are absolutely heartbroken. Max wasn't just a pet to them, he was family. My mom would cook his meals fresh every day. My dad had adjusted his entire retirement routine around Max's walking schedule, and they both doted on him like a child. After I moved out, Max became the center of their world. Every morning started with his walk, every evening ended with his bedtime routine. My mom even had a special song she would sing to him while giving him his dinner. I live in the UK now, while my family is back in Canada. When my mom called to tell me about Max, I could barely understand her through the tears. My dad, who I've maybe seen cry twice in my life, was sobbing in the background. It broke my heart. While flying back home is expensive, especially during Christmas, this felt like the right time to visit. They needed support, and honestly, I needed to be there too, to say goodbye properly and help them through this. 2 days ago, I told Sarah I was thinking about going back for Christmas. She didn't say much at first, just that I should decide soon because she needed to plan. Yesterday, I told her I had decided to go. That's when everything exploded. She started screaming that I was ruining her Christmas and that I was choosing a dead dog over her and her kids. For context about our Christmas plans, Sarah has her own family and friends in the UK. I was only supposed to go with her to one event, her office Christmas party on the 23rd. The only other plan we had was a Christmas light show on Christmas Eve, which I would have to cancel. But she went completely ballistic. She's working from the 27th, so we really didn't have much planned after Christmas anyway. I even offered to buy her a nice gift to make up for missing the light show, but that just made her angrier. Then, it got worse. She called my mom. On speakerphone. She accused my mom of being a terrible mother and manipulating me into going home. She said my mom was interfering in our relationship and trying to break us up, over a dead dog, her words. She told my mom she was pathetic for grieving so much over an animal and that she needed to get over it. My mom started crying multiple times during this call. It was awful. I tried to grab the phone to end it, but Sarah started threatening to accuse me of domestic violence and call the police if I touched her phone. If that wasn't enough, she then went into our bedroom and came out with my passport. She said she'd destroy it unless I transferred £1,000 to her, as compensation for ruining her Christmas plans. I didn't see another way out of the situation, so I sent the money. Once I had my passport back, I packed some essential things, told her it was over, and left. I'm staying at a hotel until I leave for Christmas. Now she's blowing up my phone with messages, calling me the worst person ever, saying I'm not a real man, and spewing hateful things about my mom. She's saying I'm abandoning her kids right before Christmas and that I'm just as bad as their father. Honestly, I can't believe how cruel she's being. I would have gladly brought her and the kids with me, but it would have cost £6,000 to fly all four of us back to Canada. That wasn't realistic for either of us. For context about my previous support, when her father passed away last year, I paid for her and her kids' flights to go back to her home country, covered part of the funeral and hotel stay, totaling maybe £5,000, and stayed with her at her place, where it's challenging to WFH or get to my office, for almost 2 months because she kept begging me to stay. Please help me think straight and rationally? She is making me feel like I'm the wrong one here, but I don't get it. If something like this happened to her, I would have been so supportive. Edit, just to add some context, last year when my grandmother passed away, Sarah convinced me not to go to the funeral because she had planned a weekend trip with her friends and wanted me to watch her kids. I regret listening to her then, and I refuse to make the same mistake again. Update 1 first, I want to thank everyone for their support and advice. I was overwhelmed by the responses, and they really helped me stay strong through what happened next. A lot has happened in the past 2 weeks, and I need to get this off my chest. I went home for Christmas and spent time with my parents. The house felt different without Max there. No clicking of his nails on the hardwood floors, no jingling of his collar, no happy barking when someone came to the door. My mom had left his bed in their room, and his toys were still in his basket in the living room. None of us had the heart to move them yet. We spent the holidays sharing memories of Max. Dad showed me videos he'd taken of Max playing in the snow last winter. Mom had kept all of Max's Christmas stockings from over the years. She would buy him a new one each Christmas and had saved them all. We hung them up together and cried a bit, but it felt healing somehow. Mom was still upset about Sarah's phone call. I could see her tense up whenever my phone rang, but we tried to focus on remembering Max instead of dwelling on the negativity. However, things took an unexpected turn when I returned to the UK last week. While I was away, Sarah had been busy making my life hell. First, I found out she had contacted my workplace. She emailed my HR department claiming I had stolen money from her and was fleeing the country. She even sent them screenshots of the £1,000 transfer, but conveniently left out the messages where she threatened to destroy my passport. She also filed a police report about the money, claiming I had taken it from her account without permission. She told them I had a gambling problem, completely false, and had been stealing from her for months. The police initially took it seriously because she had proof of the transfer. I had to spend hours explaining the situation to both HR and the police. Thankfully, I had screenshots of everything, her threats about the passport, her messages saying she would accuse me of domestic violence, and the entire conversation leading up to the transfer. I even had a recording of part of that awful phone call with my mom, which I had started recording when things got heated. The police quickly dismissed her claims when they saw the evidence. But Sarah wasn't done. She had also been busy contacting our mutual friends. She told them I had been physically abusive to her kids, specifically that I had pushed her son down the stairs when I was angry. Absolutely false. I love those kids and would never harm them. She said that's why she tried to stop me from leaving the country. She was protecting her children from an abuser. Some friends actually believed her at first, which was heartbreaking. 2 couples we used to have dinner with regularly blocked me on social media. It wasn't until I showed them the full evidence that they realized Sarah had been lying. The most shocking revelation came from my ex-girlfriend from university, Emma. She reached out to me through LinkedIn, since Sarah had gotten me blocked on most other platforms, to warn me about Sarah's behavior. Apparently, Sarah had found Emma on Facebook back in October and had been messaging her regularly, trying to dig up dirt on me. She claimed she was planning a surprise anniversary party and wanted to include memories from my past relationships. Emma didn't buy it and kept her responses vague, but Sarah kept pushing. She asked if I had ever been violent, if I had cheating tendencies, if I had gambling problems. When Emma told her our relationship had simply ended because we grew apart after university, Sarah accused her of covering up for me and said she would expose us both. I've blocked Sarah on everything I can think of, phone, email, social media, even LinkedIn, but she keeps creating new accounts to contact me. Sometimes she's apologetic, saying she only acted that way because she loves me so much. Other times she's threatening, saying she'll tell my parents terrible lies about me unless I get back together with her. She even created a fake Instagram account pretending to be my mom, trying to trick me into accepting the follow request. I've documented everything. Every message, every new account, every threat. I'm meeting with a lawyer next week about getting a restraining order. My workplace has also banned her from the building and instructed security not to let her in. Apparently, she tried to wait for me in the lobby one day while I was still in Canada. The £1,000 she extorted from me? I reported it to my bank as extortion, and they're investigating it. They seem optimistic about getting it back, especially with the police report I filed and all the evidence of her threats. What hurts the most in all of this is the kids. Her son sent me a voice message through his dad's phone asking why I don't come to play football with him anymore. Her daughter apparently keeps asking when I'm coming back to read her bedtime stories. Their dad, who has been surprisingly understanding about everything, told me they miss me, but he agrees it's best to keep my distance while Sarah is acting this way. He actually apologized to me, saying he should have warned me that Sarah had shown similar behavior during their divorce. Right now, I'm just trying to keep my head down and get through this. My parents have been incredibly supportive, calling every day to check on me. Friends who initially believed Sarah have been apologizing and offering their support. But it's still hard. I never expected someone I trusted could turn so vicious, especially using her own children as weapons in her revenge campaign. Update 2: I need to share some developments that have left me shocked and honestly a bit scared. Remember how Sarah kept creating new accounts to contact me? Well, it turns out that was just the tip of the iceberg. Last week, a friend who works at my old gym called to warn me. Sarah had been showing up there almost every morning, claiming to be my fiancé. She told the staff she was planning a surprise party for me and wanted to know my usual workout schedule. She even had a fake engagement ring and photos of us together that she would show people. Thankfully, my friend recognized her from a group dinner we had months ago and knew we had broken up. But it gets worse. The hospital called me to verify my emergency contact information because someone had tried to access my medical records. When I asked for details, they told me a woman claiming to be my fiancé had come in with a story about needing my medical history for our marriage license. She even had a copy of an old utility bill from when we lived together. Fortunately, the hospital's security protocols required additional verification, which she couldn't provide. The most disturbing revelations came from her ex-husband, Tom. He reached out after Sarah started harassing his new girlfriend. He felt guilty for not warning me earlier and wanted to tell me the full story of their marriage. Apparently, Sarah has a history of this behavior. Before their marriage ended, she became obsessed with one of Tom's female colleagues who she thought was too friendly with him. She started showing up at their office during lunch breaks, called the woman's husband with false accusations of an affair, and even followed her to her gym and signed up for the same fitness classes. The harassment got so bad that the colleague had to change jobs and move to a different city. Tom told me Sarah had done similar things to 2 other women before that, including his sister's best friend. He said he didn't warn me earlier because Sarah had threatened to limit his access to the kids if he ever talked about their past. She used the kids as leverage to keep him quiet, just like she's trying to use them to manipulate me now. The restraining order hearing was last week. The evidence was overwhelming: the passport incident, the false police report, the workplace harassment, the gym stalking, the hospital incident, and hundreds of messages from various fake accounts. The judge granted the order immediately. Sarah showed up to the hearing acting completely calm and collected, telling the judge I was overreacting to a few emotional messages from a bad breakup. But when the judge mentioned the hospital incident, she lost it. She started screaming that she had every right to know about my medical history since we were going to have a family together. They had to remove her from the courtroom. On a more positive note, my parents are doing much better. After much discussion and soul-searching, they decided to get a new puppy. Not to replace Max, they were very clear about that, but to give them something positive to focus on. The puppy is a chocolate lab they named Charlie. He's completely different from Max in personality, where Max was calm and dignified. Charlie is a tiny ball of chaos. But seeing them bond with him has been heartwarming. Mom still has Max's things in a special box, but Charlie has his own bed and toys now. The bank finally returned my £1,000 after their investigation confirmed the extortion. I used some of it to buy supplies for Charlie and put the rest toward legal fees. My company has been surprisingly supportive through all this. They even offered to let me work remotely from Canada for a few weeks if I needed to get away, though I decided to stay and deal with things here. Tom keeps me updated about the kids when he can. His new girlfriend seems lovely, and she's been helping the kids adjust to all the changes. Sarah apparently tells them I abandoned them, which breaks my heart, but Tom tries to counter that narrative without badmouthing their mom. He suggested we might be able to arrange some kind of video call in the future, once things settle down and if Sarah agrees, but for now, we agreed it's best to keep my distance. I'm still documenting everything in case things escalate again, but having the restraining order has given me some peace of mind. I just hope Sarah gets the help she needs, if not for her own sake, then for her kids. Update 3: Final update here. Life has finally started to feel normal again, though getting to this point wasn't easy. The restraining order has been effective. Sarah hasn't contacted me directly in months, though I still hear about her attempts to get information about me through mutual friends. Her ex-husband Tom told me she's in a new relationship now with someone she met at her workplace. While that's a relief for me, I feel a bit worried for the new guy. Tom mentioned Sarah is already talking about marriage after just 2 months of dating. I hope she's gotten help and changed, but given how she acted with Tom and then me, I have my doubts. An interesting development happened last month. Sarah's sister reached out to me. She apologized for not warning me earlier and explained that Sarah has had similar patterns in relationships since her teenage years. Apparently, their parents always enabled her behavior, making excuses and covering up her actions. The sister tried to convince them to get Sarah help after her divorce from Tom, but they dismissed it as Sarah just being passionate about her relationships. My parents are doing much better with Charlie, their new puppy. The house feels alive again. Charlie has completely different quirks from Max. He's afraid of the vacuum cleaner but loves the mailman, while Max was the opposite. Mom says these differences actually make it easier because they're not constantly comparing him to Max. I visit them more often now, making up for all the times I let Sarah control my family time. The bank eventually returned my £1,000, and I used it to help my parents get some training classes for Charlie. He's turning into a wonderful dog, though he still steals socks and refuses to give them back unless bribed with treats. Dad jokes that Max never needed training classes, but you can see how happy he is when Charlie masters a new command. I've started dating again, very casually. I met someone through a work friend, and we've been on a few dates. She's lovely and understanding about everything that happened with Sarah. When I explained why I needed to take things slow, she completely got it. The biggest difference I've noticed is how she respects boundaries, both mine and her own. There's no checking of phones, no demands about my time, no guilt tripping. It's refreshing, but I'm still proceeding cautiously. I still miss Sarah's kids sometimes, especially during holidays or when I pass by their favorite playground. Their dad sends me updates occasionally, which helps. The older one is doing well in football, and the little one has started reading on her own, things I wish I could celebrate with them. Tom says they still ask about me sometimes, but less frequently now. He thinks they're adjusting well, and that's what matters most. My work life has stabilized too. After everything that happened, I was worried about my professional reputation, but if anything, the incident with Sarah made my colleagues more supportive. My boss even joked that dealing with that situation showed more crisis management skills than any work project could. The whole experience taught me a lot about standing up for myself and my family. I realized how many red flags I ignored with Sarah because I was trying to be understanding about her past. Now I know that while it's important to be compassionate about someone's trauma, it's not an excuse for abusive behavior. I've also learned that grief, like with Max's passing, often reveals people's true colors. Sarah showed her true self when faced with my family's loss. I'm just glad I got out when I did, before things got even worse. These days, I keep Max's old collar in my desk drawer. Sometimes when I'm having a rough day, I look at it and remember how his unconditional love brought out the best in people, and how his loss ultimately showed me who I needed to remove from my life. This will be my last update. Thank you all for your support throughout this journey. It meant more than you know.